The Grand Marlowe Hotel was not just a hotel. It was a monument to wealth and power, where marble floors gleamed like mirrors and chandeliers dripped with crystals that sparkled like frozen raindrops. On any given day, the dining hall was alive with a hum of soft conversation, silverware clinking, and the subtle background music of a grand piano. Yet on this particular afternoon, the atmosphere felt charged, almost brittle, as though the room itself anticipated a storm. The storm's name was Miranda Voss. She entered as she always did, like a queen surveying her kingdom. Her heels struck the marble with a sharp rhythm, her black dress tailored to perfection, her diamond earrings catching every glimmer of light. Heads turned, whispers trailed behind her like shadows. Everyone knew who she was. Billionaire, visionary investor, owner of 3 multinational companies. But also, ruthless, exacting, terrifying. The maitre d' was already waiting, bowing slightly as if she were royalty. "Ms. Voss, your table is ready." His voice trembled ever so slightly, and his eyes darted nervously to the staff lined along the walls. Her lips curved into the faintest smile, more acknowledgement than warmth. She moved with the confidence of someone who expected the world to part before her. The maitre d' led her to a corner table, one that overlooked the entire dining room but granted her a measure of privacy. The moment she sat down, a hush fell over the staff. "Water. Sparkling. Chilled," she said without looking up, her tone clipped, efficient. A waiter hurried forward, nearly stumbling in his haste to obey. The glass was set before her within seconds, condensation sliding down its elegant stem. Miranda lifted it, examined the bubbles as though they were employees awaiting a performance review, then sipped. Her gaze swept across the room, sharp and assessing. She caught the eyes of one waiter standing too close, and he flinched, stepping back quickly. Another busboy nearly dropped his tray as he scurried past. The staff looked at her as though she were a blade, gleaming, beautiful, but dangerous to touch. And perhaps she was. The stories about Miranda Voss were endless. A spilled glass of wine had once cost a server his job. A chef who dared present her with under-seasoned risotto found himself blacklisted from half the luxury hotels in the city. She was not known for forgiveness. She was known for control. Yet for all her power, she sat alone. At a table not far away, Daniel Cross noticed. He wasn't part of this glittering world. He didn't belong to marble halls or diamond earrings. His life was defined by simpler things: school drop-offs, grocery runs, late nights hunched over a laptop. A single dad, Daniel had built his design firm from nothing, juggling fatherhood with survival. He wore no suit, just a navy shirt with sleeves rolled to his forearms, his watch scuffed but sturdy. He had come to the hotel for a business meeting, a chance to pitch his ideas to a potential investor. While he waited, he nursed a black coffee, trying not to think about the growing list of bills back home. His daughter, Sophie, had outgrown her shoes again, and school fees were looming. Still, he sat with quiet composure, scanning notes on his tablet. But he couldn't ignore the tension rippling through the dining room. Every staff member passed Miranda's table with visible fear, their eyes darting like prey avoiding a predator. Orders were whispered behind hands. Trays shook ever so slightly. Daniel frowned. It was strange, watching grown adults paralyzed by one woman's presence. He glanced at Miranda. She was beautiful, yes, but not in a soft way. Her beauty was like glass, polished, sharp-edged, dangerous to mishandle. She tapped her manicured nails against the glass of sparkling water, her irritation building with every second no one approached. Finally, she set the glass down with a definitive clink. Her eyes, cold steel gray, swept the room. "Am I to sit here ignored?" she asked aloud, her voice cutting through the silence. No one answered. The waiters froze, each silently willing another to step forward. Daniel's chest tightened. He wasn't a man who liked to interfere, but something about the sight unsettled him. There was arrogance in her tone, yes, but beneath it he thought he saw something else, an emptiness, a quiet hunger. People avoided her not only because they feared her wrath, but because she gave them no room to be human around her. He looked around. The staff shifted uncomfortably, eyes lowered, praying she wouldn't pick one of them at random to scold. Before he could second-guess himself, Daniel pushed his chair back. His movements were unhurried, deliberate. He walked across the dining room, every step drawing shocked stares. A man approaching Miranda Voss voluntarily. Madness. Miranda's gaze locked on him the instant he neared her table. She arched one perfectly shaped brow, the corners of her mouth tilting ever so slightly. "Excuse me," Daniel said evenly, stopping at her table. His voice wasn't deferential, but neither was it disrespectful. Just calm, steady. The staff seemed a little nervous. "Would you mind if I helped you get what you need?" The room went silent. Forks paused mid-air. Conversations died. It was as though the entire dining hall was holding its breath, waiting for Miranda's fury to unleash. Her eyes narrowed, scanning him. He wasn't dressed like the wealthy businessmen she usually encountered. He didn't grovel. He didn't fidget. He stood firm, his gaze level with hers. "And who?" she asked, her voice cool as frost. "Do you think you are?" Daniel didn't flinch. "Just someone not afraid to stand firm," he replied simply. For a heartbeat, silence stretched between them like a taut wire. Staff members exchanged frantic glances. Was he insane? Did he know who she was? Then something happened that none of them expected. Miranda Voss, the woman who reduced men twice Daniel's size to stammering wrecks, leaned back in her chair. Her lips curved into a small, dangerous smile. Not warmth. No, Miranda didn't give warmth. But there was intrigue there. Amusement. For the first time that day, she wasn't irritated. She was curious. The dining hall was silent. Every fork hovered mid-air. Every conversation paused, as though the world itself had frozen around the billionaire and the stranger who dared speak to her without trembling. Miranda Voss was used to fear. She was used to respect so thick it suffocated. But she wasn't used to defiance. Not quiet, steady defiance that wasn't meant to challenge her, but to see her. That unsettled her more than open rebellion ever could. She studied the man before her. Rolled sleeves, strong jaw, tired eyes that carried the weight of someone who had fought too many battles and still kept going. Not wealthy, not polished, not desperate to impress. Different. "Sit," she commanded, pointing to the chair across from her. Her tone was sharp, but her pulse beat faster, betraying a curiosity she would never admit aloud. Daniel hesitated only long enough to make it clear he wasn't obeying, he was choosing. Then, with unhurried calm, he pulled the chair back and sat down. "You're not staff," she observed, her eyes narrowing. "No," Daniel said. His voice was steady, grounded. "Just a man waiting for a meeting." Her lips curved slightly. "Then why step in? Most people prefer to stay out of my way." Daniel leaned forward, resting his hands loosely on the table. "Because maybe that's the problem. Everyone avoids you, and no one tells you the truth. You don't scare me, Miranda Voss. You just seem lonely." For a moment, her breath caught. No one spoke to her like that. Ever. The word, lonely, pressed against a wall inside her chest she had carefully constructed for years. Loneliness was weakness. Loneliness was a luxury for people who could afford vulnerability. She had chosen power instead. "I'm not lonely," she snapped, her eyes flashing. "I'm efficient. Direct. That's how you survive in business." Daniel nodded slowly, unshaken by her sharpness. "Maybe. In business, sure. But this isn't a boardroom. This is lunch. People don't want efficiency here. They want kindness." His words were simple. Too simple. But they slipped past her defenses in a way that boardroom strategies and polished flattery never could. She hated it. She hated how true it felt. Miranda looked away, her diamond earring catching the light as she shifted. "You're either very brave, or very foolish. Maybe a bit of both," Daniel admitted with a small chuckle. Silence stretched between them again, but this time it was different. Less brittle, more curious. Miranda glanced at him, half expecting to see the smugness she despised in powerful men, but instead she saw nothing but calm patience. The steadiness of a man who had weathered storms far worse than her temper. Finally, she spoke, her tone lighter than before. "Tell me, Daniel Cross, why do you wait here in a hotel you can barely afford?" His eyebrows rose, but he didn't flinch at her bluntness. "Business meeting. If I land the client, I can expand my firm. If I don't, well, I'll keep trying. And if you fail," she pressed. He shrugged. "Then I'll still go home to my daughter. That's what matters most." Miranda stilled. "You're a father. Single father," Daniel corrected softly. "Sophie's 7. Smart, stubborn, and way too curious for her own good. His lips curved into a smile that softened the lines of his face. She keeps me grounded. Something in Miranda shifted. She didn't know this man, but the way his entire presence softened when he spoke of his daughter, it was foreign to her. Genuine. Pure. She couldn't remember the last time anyone had spoken about family without ulterior motives. Her own family memories were nothing but ash. An absent father who had treated her like a pawn in business games, a mother who cared more about appearances than love. She had built her empire alone, brick by unyielding brick, and in the process, she had forgotten what warmth even looked like. Interesting, she murmured, though her chest felt tight. Just then, a young waiter approached, clearly terrified. His hands shook as he held the notepad, his voice barely audible. What would you like to order, Ms. Voss? Everyone braced for impact. Miranda was infamous for tearing staff apart at moments like this. But instead of snapping, she did something shocking, even to herself. It's all right, she said gently, her eyes still locked on Daniel. I'll have the house special. The waiter froze, his mouth falling open slightly. Then he nodded quickly, nearly tripping over his feet as he hurried away, too stunned to believe he had escaped unscathed. Daniel's brows rose, but he said nothing. Miranda tilted her head, catching the flicker of amusement in his eyes. Don't look at me like that, she said. Like what? Like you've just seen me grow wings, she muttered. Daniel laughed, low and warm. I didn't see wings. Just a choice. Her lips pressed together, but she didn't argue. As the minutes passed, their conversation continued, not in grand speeches, but in small, careful exchanges. Miranda asked about Sophie, and Daniel told her about bedtime stories, scraped knees, and the way his daughter insisted on making pancakes every Saturday, even if they turned out lopsided. In return, Miranda shared little, details about her travels, her business meetings, but never about her heart. Yet for the first time, she found herself wanting to share more. The dining hall, once frozen in fear, slowly thawed. People returned to their meals, but every so often, curious eyes drifted back toward the corner table. Whispers rippled through the staff. Miranda Voss, the woman they feared, was sitting with a stranger, and she was smiling. When Daniel's phone buzzed, he checked the screen and sighed. My meeting's here, he said, rising from his chair. Miranda felt a pang of something she didn't want to name. Loss. Disappointment. She dismissed it quickly. Then go, she said, her tone even. He nodded, but before he could walk away, her voice stopped him. Mr. Cross. He turned. When your meeting is done, she hesitated, the words strange on her tongue. Join me again. I'd like to know more about a man who doesn't flinch in the face of fire. For the first time in years, Miranda Voss wasn't just feared. She wasn't commanding. She wasn't cold. She was curious. Daniel gave a small smile, a respectful nod, and walked away. Miranda sat back in her chair, her glass of sparkling water untouched, her thoughts tangled. She didn't know whether Daniel Cross was brave, foolish, or dangerous. But one thing was certain, he had cracked something inside her armor. And she wasn't sure she wanted to repair it.